Hey guys, I'm back. I just really enjoyed a ramble. And right now I got some time, so I just want to take a look and revisit some of the things that have happened in my life and the things that have made me interested in the Sasquatch topic. This one situation happened to us when we were out in British Columbia, and I want to see if I can actually find the actual physical spot. Google Earth is a pretty amazing place to look and find areas, but I'm going to see if I can actually locate it by using Google Earth while we're doing this live and explain to you guys what had happened during this experience. And I would say this happened in the fall of 2001 or 2002. I'm not 100% sure the exact year, but I do know that it was late September or early October when this encounter happened. So let's Google Earth it, man. Close this off. And here we go. Woo! It's kind of like a roller coaster ride. All right. So I need some time to reflect here on where I'm going, and sorry, this has been a while since this happened. And I'm pretty sure it's this switchback right here. I used to walk up and down this this place here. I don't think there's any other switchbacks, major switchbacks. No, there's that. It's probably changed a lot. There's 2 or 3 switchbacks, and then there used to be a guy who, and I don't even know. Yeah, I went to dirt, and then we went up a little bit higher. But there's also a, how do we rotate this? Like this? I do know that there is a river in here, and I'm pretty certain that this is the general location of where we were, because that makes sense, because there's a ravine here as well, and my cousin lived off of a ravine. Click to look around. View in Google Maps. So definitely that's made a difference, because it's unbelievable. This area, from the time that I was here to the present day, man, it's just been completely annihilated by like forestry and other bullshit industries like that. Maybe fires, but whoa, that gave me a shock and made my heart go like crazy, like palpitation kind of crazy. So I think this is the area. So where this encounter occurred, sorry, I'm just trying to collect my thoughts here. I'm just a little worked up by this whole scenario, and just seeing how an area that we were at, 20 years ago is now completely devastated by the interruption of the logging industry and forestry and the recarving and abuse of the actual beauty and serenity of this land that we're in is absolutely mind-blowing to me. What was happening is I was staying with my cousin up in the mountains, about 2.5 kilometers up from the main town of Christina Lake, and my wife and I were staying in a tent on a trail that was cut almost like a road, so it probably was an access road for maybe hydro or somebody like that. And we were sitting in an area that was very much like so. It was a fairly round kind of area. We'd placed our tent just off the one side of the road, kind of left it open or whatever. It was on a plateau that tapered down into a ravine, and the other side went straight up this part of the mountain. And for 3 days prior to the actual event, while we were making our way back to the tent in pure darkness, I kept on hearing something paralleling us in the bush, and then I would stop, or we would stop, and whatever it was that was paralleling us would stop as well. But it wasn't until the third night that I made my wife aware of what was happening. I had heard it the 2 previous nights in a row, but I didn't want to make her nervous about what was happening. And the dog, who normally would walk us out to our tent, these last few nights would just stop. There was a gate, and it took us about 10 minutes to walk back to the tent. So, it was a considerable distance back into the bush, and then it wasn't like we were like hardcore rushing back to the tent. There was a slight grade in elevation from my cousin's place to where the tent was located as well. And so the third night after this thing was following us in the bush for a couple days, I had mentioned something to my wife and said that, there's something paralleling us in the bush. And this is when we decided to, walk and then pause, and whatever it was paused, and then we'd keep on walking and pause again, and whatever it was would stop. And at the time I thought it was a cougar, like we're in the mountains. This was just the first experience, being in the mountains. Cougars were a big talk, there's a lot of cougars around. Yeah, like it's just crazy the amount of bear experiences I've actually had in the wilderness for somebody who's not a hunter. Like just, I don't know, like a bear whisperer or something like that. It was just crazy insane. But anyways, story goes on. Third night, we're walking back to the tent. We get back to the tent, we settle down, we fall asleep, and I was awoken by the sound of sticks snapping. So I opened up my eyes, and I was listening, and I heard something that was actually slowly coming up the ravine. So it was coming up this side. So it was coming up from the ravine, coming up. The tent was somewhere in this region here. And I could hear that whatever it was getting closer to the tent. And then it got to the point where, I was terrified. I was scared. The only thing that I had on me was a little Swiss Army knife, those little ones with the little, the white cross on it. And it had like a 3.5-inch little sharp knife in it. So I pulled that out because something was better than nothing, and that was my assumption. And we're laying there, and then my wife's like KO'd, like she's out cold. I didn't wake her up or anything like that, and I'm at the point where I'm getting really nervous and a little scared and stuff like that, and I decide that I'm gonna start nudging her, and I'm like, there's something coming up on the tent. I don't know what it is, and I just want you to be aware, and I want you, to know what's going on. And then as I whip her up, there's some low. It was a guttural like growl. It was like, and it was really deep, and I just reacted. my arm flew up and I just whacked the side of the tent. And whatever the hell was behind the tent launched off something and broke whatever was back there. This just giant crashing noise, like something being just broken. And then you just heard it. So what had happened is the big crash happened here, and then the next sound I heard was a sound about 20 to 25 feet away from the tent on the opposite side of the crash on the other side. And it was just like a big boom, and the boom happened, and then you heard something just tearing up the side of the hill, like breaking stuff and teetering up and through. We were scared, to say the least, but that night and the rest of the night was a little unnerving and trying to sleep, and we told my cousin about it the next day, and the next day we were sleeping in the house. So that was the experience we had. I was trying to think that, maybe it was a cougar, but the more insight that I got about cougars and their ability to jump and their ability and so on and so forth, like they're only able to jump a certain amount. They're able to attack from a higher position opposed to a lower position. So like we got out of the tent the next morning, took a look around, and there was a log that was kind of over the side overhang of where the tent was. This log was like 12 to 14 inches, and this log was broken like right in half. So anyways, this whole experience happened right there. All of the other correlations to a wild animal and a bear and all that, it was just way out of the realm. So I figured I'd share that story and give you kind of a general idea of where it was at. The correlations to the way Sasquatch move, being facing a certain area, being in a ravine, which tends to be and come up time and time again, of how they move up and down from the upper portions of mountains and down. They choose lower routes, usually off main trails and so on and so forth, down through ravines in order to gain access to environments or food sources, and the ability to be close and near to fresh water and so on and so forth. So the correlations between the story, positioning, where I was, and everything else tends to lean towards one thing more than others. And if you have any comments, if anybody else has had an experience like this before in the wild, like for one, it scared the shit out of me. But I kind of excused it as being, something else, as most of us try to do. We try to fit it into the context of what we're taught and what people are trying to force us to believe is true. But leave a like and share your stories if you want. Thanks.